2 years sober this past February, and I got to tell you, I saw you when you come in, and I see it today, and such a big change. I couldn't be more happy for you or proud of you. That's just awesome.
Well, Knuckles, you are a big
change your life
because I would call you and I'd be in an even better mood than I am right now, and you're like, pink cloud and whatever.
Pink cloud.
Just hold you accountable.
And I would say, am I not allowed to be happy, Knuckles?
Yeah,
fucking pink cloud.
Don't get too excited.
When I stepped on the ice, I never backed down, and I never stayed down.
And I was vicious, and I was malicious, and I don't care.
I'm alive. He's a freaking madman. Look at him going to town. That'll be a suspension. That'll be a fine.
What up, boys?
Oh, man. Can you scream a little louder in that fucking microphone?
Oh, is he grumpy today, Stapes?
Yeah,
Not at all.
He forgot the G. He forgot the G.
Look at him with the Knuckles gear on. Tim with the Knuckles gear.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dan, here.
Look at him.
Is this an actual autograph? This is actual autograph.
Yeah, I signed that. Yeah.
Fucking
It's on a stamp, right? You know who taught me that?
Who?
Jean Beliveau.
Oh, man. I could listen to stories. All I hear is he was the most perfect gentleman.
Oh, he was unbelievable. And I did a skating thing with him, a promotion one day, and we were skating around and signing autographs. And afterwards, I said, God, you have the nicest penmanship. It's such a great autograph. And he said, I don't bother to write it if they can't read it.
That's right.
And meanwhile, I just got through scribbling fucking, I don't know how many autographs, right? I would go real fast and not pay attention. And ever since then, I did. And then I looked at all the old Canadians, Rocket, Henry Richard, Lafleur, Larry, all of them. They had the best signature, and boom.
Makes sense.
Yeah, right? Anyway, Danny Boy, welcome to the Raw Knuckles podcast. Awesome to have you. I've been waiting for this one. I know you're a busy guy. It's hard
Not really.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not freaking busy.
You're always running somewhere.
In his basement. You're in your basement, right?
That's right.
No,
it's a mice-free basement because last night I'm lying in bed and I hear a cat growling. And I'm like, what the hell? Cat's got a damn mouse in its mouth sitting beside my bed. And I believe it originated in this basement. So it's a mouse-free basement now.
So just for clarification here, it's your basement, not your mother's.
Correct. This is my own basement.
Good.
Yes, I paid for it with my own money, and I have my own mortgage.
Good for you. All right.
Mortgage rates. Can we talk about that?
No. Button it up. We don't want negativity on here. All right. A little too negative when we talk about mortgage rates.
Can we talk about Stapes? I miss this guy.
Yeah. Let's talk about something positive.
Okay. All right, guys.
And there's silence. And there's silence.
Right, no, everyone's just like, all right, next question.
All right, you guys, do the show. I know what you're doing, O'Toole.
I'm just excited to see both of you guys. You guys both bring smiles to my face.
All right. You're as full of shit as a Christmas turkey.
You know what, Knuckles. As soon as I see you on the phone, I light up.
Good. I'm glad you do.
And the kids love for me to put you on speaker because they're like, is that Knuckles? Because they love the accent.
Pack the car.
I try to get him to say "ca" at some point during the conversation. Are you in the car?
Yeah, in the car. Pack the car.
Have you ever driven in a car with Knuckles, Stapes?
No, I haven't.
It's an experience.
Oh,
what the hell? What? The night you and Jay went to dinner. What was wrong with it? I drove fine.
Okay.
Yeah, what is he?
Fuck.
Let me paint the picture. Imagine someone's driving through downtown Montreal, and they're using a map, which is totally fine. But they're using the map, and it's on their knee. And when they come to an intersection, they disregard that the map is open, stop in the middle of an intersection, and decide whether they're going to go or not. And then we say, Knuckles, you can't just stop in the middle of an intersection. He goes, what are they going to do? And I'm like, I guess you're right. If you're Knuckles in downtown Montreal, what are they going to do? Nothing.
Hey, did you get to the restaurant on time?
He's like
Healthy
bitching about
in one piece?
Yes.
someone texting and driving. He's like, look at this asshole texting.
And you got home in one piece?
Yes, it was a great dinner.
Okay.
We went to a Pita Couchon,
Pita
had a
Couchon.
great meal. It was great.
All right. So, Danny boy.
Yeah.
I watched you on TV for years.
I know. You would send us messages.
Before I was able to meet you, though. Before I ever met you. I didn't know you. I thought you had a great gig going. But before we get into the Jay and Dan thing, I really would love to hear a little bit about, you grew up in Peterborough, played hockey, you were a goalie, fucking stupid to begin with right there, being a goalie. What was your dream, like most Canadian kids, to play in the NHL one day?
Well, you know my stature, and I am not just pandering to the crowd. What I would do on Hockey Night in Canada, because we get Habs games on Chex TV in Peterborough, I would put the game on mute, and I'd do the play-by-play. And I have old books of the shots and everything and the goals. And Knuckles, you are in my handwritten notes from when I'm like a 8, 9, 10-year-old, and you scored a goal one of these games, and now we're friends. How amazing is that? I'd call the games off the TV, and then we became friends later in life. So if you had told that 8, 9, 10-year-old what would happen later in life, my mind would have been blown. My mind's still blown, but that's what I'd do. I'd put the games on mute. I'd do play-by-play, and I'd also have all the little wrestlers, the WWF wrestlers, and I would call the matches on a tape recorder there as well. So
and practice that. So you didn't want to play hockey. You wanted to.
Of course I wanted to, but I filled up a quarter of the net.
No, what made you want to do that? What, something in this 8-year-old kid, you must have saw something on TV, something. What made you want to go into that line of business? It must have been the excitement. Do that when you're a kid.
I believe what really hooked me to sports was, again, I'm not pandering to the crowd, was the Montreal Forum when you played there, and Mats Naslund would get the puck at your own blue line, and the place would erupt. I'm like, this is what sports is all about. The excitement, the call of the game by Dick Irvin and Bob Cole. I was just transfixed by that. And I think I just got caught up in wanting to be a part of that atmosphere, knowing I couldn't be an athlete, that I wanted to be a part of the sports landscape, however I could make that work. And then I discovered I really wanted to do it when in high school I did a co-op program. It's where you go into the school and you figure out, hey, do you want to be a teacher? Do you want to be a mechanic? And I did it at a radio station, and I'm like, this is not real work. I want to do this. And that's when I really wanted to do it, when I figured out it didn't feel like a real job, because I'm a lazy person.
Who's some of your favorite play-by-play?
Bob Cole, number one. Bob Cole, hands down, is my favorite of all time. Chris Cuthbert is the best modern day. And the guy who calls Edmonton Oilers games.
I love that guy.
He is so good.
He gets into it. Yeah.
He is so good that no one really hears him because he's not on Hockey Night in Canada. He's just on the Oilers broadcast. But I believe he is currently the best calling games. But if you're looking for a guy who calls football and baseball, Joe Davis, the LA Dodgers heir apparent to Vin Scully. He took over for him, and I worked with him at Fox. At that time, he was like 24. Now he's like 32, and he calls the World Series, and he calls all baseball games on Fox, and he calls football as well on Fox. He is phenomenal. He is going to be one of the greatest of all time.
What about Danny Galvin?
Yes, Danny Galvin. He called.
I love Danny Galvin.
I didn't hear enough of him because I kind of came in at the end.
Because he was radio, right? He was radio.
And he called the 87 Canada Cup, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, his calls on that are amazing, but I don't know enough of Danny Galvin to put him up there, but whatever I've heard is amazing.
He was awesome. I love Danny Galvin. I always saw him around the building when I was with the Habs. And there's another great Maritimer right now. He's doing Winnipeg, and Stapes met him when he was out there, Dan Robertson. He did the radio for years in Halifax for the junior team there. And then he took the job here for TSN radio in Montreal and did that for, I don't know, about 7 years. And then he just got hired this year by Winnipeg for their TV broadcast. And he's got a booming, incredible voice. That year in the playoffs, the Habs a couple years ago went to the final. He had some just incredible calls. Like,
how about Kurt Kielbeck? He used to call Jets games. Do you guys remember him?
No.
And then he went and called Coyotes games. If you look back at some of his work, I don't know how he got pushed out, but he would stop mid-sentence and just say ridiculously amazing things. But Kurt Kielbeck is also in my top 5.
He's like the Boston Bruins guy. That guy's really...
That's Jack Edwards.
That idiot.
He's...
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Hee-haw.
That's what they would do. So going back to Peterborough and the Peterborough Petes, there was a person that would bring a donkey to the game, and it was dressed as a referee. So whenever there was a call against the Petes, they'd yell, hee-haw, hee-haw. And it was the greatest highlight of every game. You're like, oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
So enough about all these other guys. Although one last one, Vin Scully's got to be the all-time best ever.
Yes.
Vin Scully, incredible. So
amazing.
So
I had to
little
throw Pat Foley. Do you know Pat Foley?
Oh yeah, Pat Foley's awesome.
I had to throw him out there.
Yeah,
Pat Foley, who's he with?
Chicago.
He was
Chicago.
the Blackhawks for a long time.
Yeah. So 8-year-old Dan picking his nose, doing his little broadcasts at home.
And because of Steve Penny. Steve Penny got me hooked as well. Steve Penny stood on his head that one series against Boston. Pennies from heaven.
Yeah. Did you ever hear the thing when Steve Penny played in the minors? He faced off against, was it Steve Nickel or something Nickel? And they said a penny is worth more than a nickel. That was the slogan, right?
I love it.
They had the sign. I forget the other goalie's name, but his last name was Nickel. Anyway.
And then Wah took over for Penny.
Yeah. Wawa. Patty Wawa. So you grew up in a farm. So you grew up in a farm, right? In rural Peterborough, outside of Peterborough. You practice your trade. Now you went off to school, and your first job was out west. Was it in Vancouver?
You did your research very well. I was an airborne traffic reporter. I flew around the city
in a four-seater. In a plane, not in a helicopter.
It was a little Cessna. So I would do the morning and afternoon drive. Pardon me?
Was this like considered like you go grinding the miners out right now?
Exactly. How I compare broadcasting. I compare broadcasting.
He was in the East Coast League. He was in the East Coast League doing that.
But I could actually compare broadcasting to flying a jumbo jet. You got to fly the small planes until you can get to the big plane. You got to put in your hours. And that's what literally you do in broadcasting. You do the small jobs and then you move up to the next one, then the next one, then finally you get to fly the jumbo jet. So yeah, my first job was flying around in a little Cessna plane, and my name on the radio wasn't even my own name. It was Captain D. I was Captain D with the traffic.
Captain D in the four-seater. Thank God you survived that.
The door would open. The door would open during flights, but once you're so used to it, you're not going to fly out. So it was just a common occurrence that I got used to, which is kind of odd when you think about a plane door opening mid-flight.
So you're doing the four-seater deal. That was back in 97. And then 98, you end up going up to Fort McMurray, where you took a job as sports director for CJOK FM and CK YX FM, DJing, right? For 3 years you're there. And you also called play-by-play for the Fort McMurray Oil Barons. Now,
that's right. Scotty Upshaw was on that team. They won the Royal Bank Cup in 2000 when they hosted it. It was phenomenal. It was a great experience. Got to go down to the draft when Scotty was drafted. That was in 2000. So he was drafted in the first round, like in the top 10. Wasn't he drafted like third or fourth? I don't know. But he and Chris Phillips also played, is from Fort McMurray. So a lot of great hockey history in that town. And living in an oil town is quite an experience because you're the lowest paid person wherever you go, because like pipe fitters that are 18 years old making 150,000 in 1998, and that's still a lot of money right now, but in those days that was
in Fort McMurray.
Yeah. So it was a great experience. That's where I continued to build my hours towards flying the jumbo jet.
So you build it, and you get closer to that jumbo jet as you move to Edmonton and began working at CTV, where you were a news
correction.
No,
I was it was called a stringer reporter. So they would have a 5-minute segment on the CTV
but
news.
But it was news. It was news, right?
Yeah,
it wasn't
but
sports.
I was still in Fort McMurray. So I got a job doing my own stories for a 5-minute segment, and I get paid I think it was $85 a story. But if I was on camera, I'd get paid like $125. So I would I would do stories on car washes. I would do stories on like snow clearing.
Cats eating mice.
Yeah, I would have done a story on that. I said, there's a big mice problem. I found this evidence here. But I had my own station vehicle, so I was working 2 jobs. I was working at the radio station and doing news. So it was I was rich with 2 jobs.
Yeah. Okay. So you're loaded. And
by the way, I was making $2,000 a month at the radio station, and I was the highest paid person at the radio station. $2,000 a month, and they considered me rich. They're like, you make a lot of money. Everyone else at the radio station.
And how do you end up getting hooked up with Jay Onright? How does this all happen? So you're plying your trade, you get going, things are great, you're doing some meaningless stories and making money doing that. How do you get hooked up with Jay Onright and have one of the most popular shows in North America? We won't count the States, but you were popular in Canada, no question.
So it's all because I did that news gig with CTV. I was able to get an audition tape put together because of all these stories I was part of. And I sent it to a news director at CKVU in Vancouver. They were global news, and then they were switching as an independent, and then soon to switch to City TV. So in a 2-month period, they were an independent, and they were looking for new people. So I sent them a tape. Knowing this was going to happen, the guy said, get the news director was George Froelich. He said, get a year's experience and we'll hire you.
Judgy.
So I got a year's experience. He called me a year to the day. He said, did you get the experience? I said, yep. He goes, you're hired. So I got hired to do sports in Vancouver. So that was my first on-air job doing sports, reporting on the Canucks. I was actually in Vancouver showing up at Canucks training camp when 9/11 happened. Like, I watched it as I was going out the door at my brother's house, and I'm like, do I even show up? And then we showed up, and they canceled everything the rest of the day. But that's the time frame in which I was in Vancouver. So it was a neat experience. That was when I first walked into my first NHL room. So I wonder, you guys probably had the same
little
feeling.
Box. Did you have your little
my
box
little recorder? Yeah. So I was like,
I've made it. Were you a Pekka checker?
Yeah, he did his interviews out of just
was
right
he
out
a
of the shower.
checker stage?
Right out of the shower. He's just,
hey,
what are you doing in here?
He's handing towels out, asking questions.
Hey, by the way, good game last night.
So when I first walked into this carpeted room, I'd never seen anything like it. I'm like, I finally made it. I'm reporting on an NHL team. And that was the days of Todd Bertuzzi, and Ed Jovanovski was there, and Brent Sopel. And I'm like, this is Mats Naslund. Not Mats Naslund, Marcus Naslund. Marcus, really nice dude.
Marcus.
Yeah, so they actually got one of his jerseys as a going away present from my station. They gave me a Marcus Naslund signed jersey as a going away present. I still have it.
So have you always been this like energetic? Like, is this always been from day one, like your energy? And because it's awesome. But
well, I guess when I'm talking, when I'm doing my thing, like if I'm sitting on the couch, I'm not like this.
Yeah, you're just not kind of,
God, whoever the partner would be, it'd be tough to deal with. I guess.
But I do if like watching the Honda Classic on the weekend. I was jumping up and down, watching putts and stuff. If there's like a big moment in a NASCAR race, I'm jumping off the couch. I'm always recording stuff off the TV.
You're telling me you get off on putts? Come on.
Hey, I like when they sink. I like drama in golf.
You're the guy when they tee off, you're like, get it in the hole. Like that.
No, I'm not. Stapes, come on.
He'd be perfect for Arizona, right? For the waste management.
I've been there.
Par 3, right?
I've been there.
Were you on that hole? Were you 16?
Oh yeah.
How many beers did you throw out in the green?
Oh, Knuckles! If I had thrown the beer, then I'd be like, well, that's wasted. I would have drank it.
Yeah. They were gone by the time.
What are you talking about? You see a lot of people fighting gravity at that tournament. Have you seen the videos?
I've been there.
It's crazy.
They're like walking sideways. It's crazy.
Yeah,
like in an Easter bunny outfit. It's
so
nuts.
here I'm going to go back to my CGOK days. So the first time we went to that tournament, I'm like, I was still friends with the boss that I had at CGOK in Fort McMurray. And I said, hey, me and some friends are going on a golf trip and we want to go to this tournament and we want to get media passes. We're going to use the name of the station. So if they call you, just say, yeah, they're here to cover it. He's like, no problem. We got 12 media passes under CGOK. That was in 2002. They used my friend, my brother and his friends used that CGOK call for the next 10 years at that tournament. They never once brought gear. They never brought a microphone.
Change the date or anything? No.
No, they would call and say, yep, here was CJOK again. And finally, in the 11th year, they're like, do you guys have a link to the show you've done from here or anything? Do you guys have like any evidence? And that's when the jig was up. So for 10 years, they used CJOK radio passes to get into the Waste Management Open for free.
Okay. So, like 10 minutes ago, I asked, how'd you get hooked up with Jay Onright?
Well, we're
and
leading
now we're
to
in
that.
Arizona,
it's a long
for
journey.
Christ's sake.
Okay,
long journey.
He likes golf.
Okay,
Hey,
so
listen,
I was.
I hate driving around the city, on them perimeter roads. I like going right through the city.
Okay, here's what happened.
So let's
I
go
was
through the
working
city
on
on this
TV
one.
in Vancouver when one day I see my little light on my phone flashing. So I'm like, okay, I've got a message. I dial it in, get my message, and it says, Dan, this is Mark Milliere from TSN. I want to talk to you about a potential employment.
Nice.
Call me back. So I'm looking around.
Nice.
I've been at the job. I've been on TV for 9 months, and I'm like, okay, someone's playing a prank on me. No one's playing a prank. Called the number, and then I proceeded to have negotiations, in which they, in hindsight, probably thought I was a brilliant negotiator because I turned them down 4 times. I was doing the 6 o'clock sports. I was living in Granville Island. I was dating Miss Molson Indy. So I'm like, life is amazing. Why would I ever leave this? And finally, they got James Duthie to call me. He's like, Dan, I totally get it. I lived out in Vancouver, but make sure you come to TSN because, it'll be worth it. They got Blake Price, who moved from Vancouver to Toronto, to call me. And finally, I succumbed and made the move from Vancouver to Toronto. And that was in 2002. And then the strike happened in what? So I was doing weekend sports on TSN. And then the strike happened in 2004, I think.
You were doing it alone.
Yeah.
I was doing it with different partners. I was with Lisa Hillary. I was with Holly Horton. I forget who I was with, but I was paired with different people. And then when the strike happened, Blake was moving back to Vancouver. He was paired with Darren Detition on the 10 o'clock show. Jennifer Hedger was with Jay on the 11 o'clock. And with Blake moving back, Jennifer got moved up with Dutchie. And they said, Dan, when the strike is over, you're going to be paired with Jay. You're off weekends and you're going to be paired with Onright. And that's when that happened in 2004. So long story short, that's how we got paired together.
So you get paired together, you two, you and Jay. And how long does it take you to guys really, because you had that on-air chemistry that was just incredible. Like the two of you just had it going on big time. I mean, so good that you got offered a job in the States later, but we'll get there at one point. But did it click right away? Did you work on it? Did you talk about it? Geez, how are we going to attack this? And sure, you got to prep for shows, but the chemistry between you two is incredible.
First show.
Incredible.
The first show, we finish it, and we're about to leave the desk, and the late show that we did with the 11 o'clock Pacific would be showed on a loop. So we're about to leave the desk, and they're like, since this, Jay says, since this show's going to loop, should maybe he say my name right? Because I said Jay on rate. The first time we got paired together, I said his name wrong. So that was a great start. And what we really bonded over, and I bring this up quite often, are two of our favorite comics. Knuckles, you 100% have never heard of them. Tim and Eric.
Probably.
Tim and Eric. They had a show called Tim and Eric. Awesome show. Great job. And when that show came out, we would sit around and watch that. And that was our first real bonding experience that we liked absurd humor. And then it kind of went from there. And one of the greatest pieces of broadcasting advice Jay gave me was when our first few months of shows, he said a joke or something. And then I said a throwaway line like, yeah, he'd like to have that one back or something. So we went to commercial and he said, if it's not funny, just don't say anything. And I'm like, you're right. And that's the problem with a lot of young broadcasters or even age broadcasters. They hate dead air. Yeah. Let it breathe. If someone says a joke, let it breathe. You don't have to add more words in. And that's where...
And start laughing like crazy.
Just silence is best. 98% of the time, silence is best. And that was another great bonding experience. So Tim and Eric, and that one piece of advice, and that's what really we bonded over. And we got to do a show in which we tried to make each other laugh, and a show in which we would go home and want to watch it. We didn't want to do a boring sports show. We'd get so many people, just give us the scores. And we'd say, well, you can get the scores anywhere. Go get them. If you want the scores, go watch another show. So, we did a show in which we made comments that you and your buddies would make on the couch watching it. That's exactly how we approached it.
Silence is best. And you think that's a video thing though? Because you can't do that on the podcast. That would sound
correct. Yes.
Or on a radio show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But no, also if someone says a joke, let it land. No need to one up them. And that's the other thing. We didn't try to one up each other. Like, it's not a joke off. Mm-hmm. I was the setup man, and Jay's the cleanup hitter. And by the end of our run, we could finish each other's sentences. I would see a highlight pack, and I'd know exactly what I was going to say, and I know where he would take it. So we were better synced than a married couple by the end of it. Like, even now, we'll go to a dinner, and he'll start telling a story. I know where to jump in the story, and it's just amazing.
Unbelievable.
Symmetry.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, you guys had it going on big time.
And people always ask, they're like, "Oh, are you guys still friends?" Yes, we were texting last night.
No, you hate each other.
Yeah.
You hate each other. Yeah.
We never were friends. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Some people do have that though. Right? You guys probably experienced that. Yeah. Two great teammates that they seem buddy, yep. And they hate each other off the ice.
Yeah.
Well, Nux and I love each other. There's only love on this show,
Yeah, I loved him. Look at him wearing my hat, Raw Knuckles. Yeah. You got my Knuckles hat on. You got I love you guys too.
This is, by the way, these are quality sweaters.
Aren't they?
Yeah.
I get a lot of compliments on this.
And they are comfortable, warm, sharp.
They are.
Sharp.
I've washed it so much, it's shrinking a little. I might need a new one, Nux.
Well, keep your eyes open because we're going to come up with some new ones. We're thinking of some different sayings like backhand peanut butter, drop them.
Here's the deal. You should have one.
What would Knuckles do?
Here's the deal.
Here's the deal.
Here's the deal.
What would Knuckles do? We're thinking of some things. Jamie she loves doing that stuff. So I leave
a little inside baseball here, but our mutual friend Sully, I want him to get a shirt that just says "Sure." I'll be talking to him. Sure. You say something, he goes, "Sure," in a Boston accent.
No. What's your name, dummy? What's your name, dummy?
I do like that on a shirt. What's your name, dummy?
I know. What's your name, dummy? That's a good one. I think I'm gonna make that one. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Can you say Knuckles? Can you say sure in a Boston accent?
Sure.
Yeah, say sure. Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Sure. Oh. Down by the shore, by the beach. Sure.
She said, "Hey Knuckles, can you say sure?"
Sure.
Yeah, that's how I say sure. Sure, it's not sure.
If I say my R's, I
sound
sound like a total fucking dipshit. Like,
oh, you can't.
Car, park your car in Harvard Yard. I sound like a fucking dope. Park the car in Harvard Yard.
Where's Harvard Yard? Is that Boston?
It's in Cambridge, actually, across the river, Charles River. And,
pronounce river with the R's.
River. Oh,
no.
River. River. Like, I don't get Wahlberg, but, Wahlberg had the consummate Boston accent. And Mark, going out to Hollywood, doing all these movies, they have a, voice articulation classes where you go and you learn how to,
speak
pronounce.
English.
Yeah.
English. Yeah.
And I for some, maybe I could do it. I think maybe I could if I had someone coach me on it.
No, don't. That's what makes you
feel like a fucking oddball. I'd feel weird. Like I'd feel not me.
Two things. Wahlberg, did you see the mansion he just sold? And speaking of accents, why do Swedish players in the NHL lose their accents the quickest? They go from full accent to you wouldn't even know they're not from North America. I don't know what it is about
especially when they drink. Scandinavians,
Mats Naslund. Mats Naslund didn't lose his accent. He used to come in every morning and say, "Knuckles, you're fucking crazy. What you did last night is crazy, but thank you."
That was him at 12. The 3 stars, as picked by Red Fisher of the Gazette. The third star, Mats Naslund. That was my favorite. That's when they used to show the 3 stars. All picked by Red Fisher.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What was Red Fisher like, Knuckles?
Red was a prick.
Next question.
Yeah. Let me tell you. And I became very good friends with him. I was there, the last week of his life. I went to visit him, and believe me, Red used to do this. Now, Red, he was a great hockey writer, and you would come in the locker room. Here's my experience with him. I got called up. I came in the locker room, and I'd be seeing this guy come in every day, and all these reporters come and talk to you. And this guy never came and talked to me when I was a rookie. Not once. So, I don't know, after I'm there a month, I said to Bob Gainey, sitting next to me, I said, "Bob, who's that guy over there?" He said, "Oh, that's Red Fisher. He doesn't talk to rookies." So I'm like, "Oh, okay." So someone hit LaFleur, Alan Hanksleben, Washington. I went after him and I thrashed him. The next day in the paper, Red writes an article. It says, "The Canadians don't need a guy like Chris Nyland."
Ooh.
So me being young, naive, not knowing what's going on, I'm thinking, fuck, they're going to get rid of me. They're going to get rid of me. The following day, Rocket Rashad writes in the competing English newspaper, "Rocket Nyland is just what the Habs need." And I was like, well, now I'm like, whoa, the Rocket of all, right? So anyway, Red, after into my second year, finally comes up and starts talking to me. And
Took him like, a year and a half.
No, he will not talk to rookies. Never talk to him. I remember Mark Hunter came in. Hunts came in. He said to me, "Knox, who's that fucking guy over there?" I said, "That's Red Fisher. You don't talk to rookies." He said, "Oh, fuck him. What the fuck?" But Red did that because that's exactly what he wanted rookies to do. Say, "Who is that guy?" And Red and I became
say Red Fisher's still around and Connor Bedard is playing for the Montreal Canadiens. He doesn't talk to him.
He would not fucking talk to him. Off. He didn't talk to Guy Lafleur when he came in.
Oh, my God.
Nice. I'm telling you, for 1 year, he would not talk to rookies. Ask anybody.
So Patrick Waugh in his standout rookie season.
He did not
didn't
talk to Patrick Waugh.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's asinine.
So, yeah, it was like they got to pay their dues. But the big thing was you're going to know who Red Fisher was. And he did that. And Red, we became really, like, real good friends. Mark Hunter, one night, we're in Edmonton. We get in late. We're going to the hotel. And we get in like 3 a.m. The plane was late, everything, snow, blah, blah, blah. So we get to the hotel. And Red and he tries to get in front of the players to get his key to go to the room. And now here's Big Red, fucking ego like this. I'm the best. And Hunt goes, hey, wait a minute. Fucking the players are first. Fucking reporters are fucking get your thing last. Well, fucking Red looked at him. I'm telling you, he wanted to kill him. And Hunt, it was so funny. The boys were howling. So Red's like all taken aback. And the two of them, they don't say a fucking word for the rest of the year. But they never talk. So we end up going we're in L.A. and we end up going to the zoo one day, San Diego Zoo. We're all going to go. Red's going to go. So we get on the fucking bus and there's only one seat left. Hunt's is there and there's an empty seat and Red gets on. He's looking at the seat, right? And it's like a fucking, 45-minute drive. And he did not want to sit there. And everybody's like, come on, Red, fucking sit down with him. Sit down. So that was the day they kind of made peace. But Red was like that. Fucking hilarious. Hilarious. But anyway, a lot of guys didn't like him because, he was like that. But I knew how to pick him.
Well, it makes sense. I'd have a bone to pick with the guy if he never interviewed.
For sure. It's like some hard-ass reporter. You'd just be like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, he was like, he was like up here, That's the way Red was. But anyway, so forget about Red.
We mentioned Patrick Waugh there again. I just wanted to, one of the biggest memories or the fondest memories I have of Patrick Waugh, you guys might remember the game in which he returned from suspension. I don't know why he was suspended. And he stopped the puck where he dove back and stopped it midair with the paddle of his stick. Do you remember that save?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I do.
And Stapes, you asked about if I'm always this excitable. I was watching that home alone. My parents were at a dinner party. This is before cell phones. I found the number of the place they were at the dinner party and called them to tell them about the save.
That's a little extreme.
But I'm like, I got to share this news with someone. And I'm like,
they see the save? They're like, we're at dinner.
The greatest save. And I can only imagine them like, yeah, he did what? Oh, yeah. That's fascinating. Okay. Could you told us when we got home?
Yeah. Do you take your meds? Like, take your meds.
Yeah, take your medication. Go to the top shelf of the cupboard, and there's a pill bottle. Just take all of them.
Yeah. 03 to 2013. You guys are it in sports reporting in Canada. You had a great show, awesome show. Mm-hmm. And then 2013, you guys pick up and leave fucking old Canada.
You know why?
And like, well, I won't. I'll speculate that, or I'll take a guess that you got an offer
that
and
you
it
could
was more
refuse.
money than TSN. Yeah. Well, no, but was it a contract squabble?
Oh no. As I tell people, they're like, "Well, why'd you go there?" I'm like, "Have you ever heard the sound of a dump truck backing up? Beep beep." And now imagine that dump truck's full of money, and then people are like, "You're such a sellout." And I wish I could tell them the contract difference. And I'm like, no one in their right mind would say no to it. But the reason Fox found us was because
Can you tell us?
Pardon me?
Tell us.
It was
more
than $1, less than $1 million.
Dan, you'd go to the fucking live tour.
999,000 you got?
Would I go to the live tour? Hell
you
yes.
Would. Yeah, you would.
Right?
You'd
it's
go
like
to the live tour.
Yeah. 100%.
They should we're getting off track here. But
so what was the offer? No, we're not. We're right on track. What
just
was
wait.
the
The
offer?
live tour should have an average golfer play each event. And if they beat one golfer, they should get $1 million. If they beat one person, on the Live Tour that weekend, they should get $1 million. I would watch. Okay, so the Fox found us because the Wall Street Journal, they have a reporter in Toronto, and he wrote an article on why can't American Sports Center be like Canadian Sports Center. And they wrote the article about us. One of the Fox executives saw that article and called us. We were actually at the London Olympics, that was what, 2012? The 2012 Olympics. And we get a call from Fox and we start the negotiations. Then the negotiations went on for about 6 months because they were like, okay, we want you guys. Then it went to, no, we went a different direction. And then it was back on. So yeah, we
So
made
how
the
many
move to
years
LA.
did they give you?
4 years.
They gave you a 4-year deal.
Yep.
Good negotiating there. You're going to
Mhm.
make that move. You probably should have got 5. But
bad agent.
and what kind of dough? Come on. What kind of dough was it? Come on.
I'm not telling you what kind of dough.
Why not? Why not? It's done. It's over. It's in the fucking past. Come on. I made the most I ever made in the NHL was like $300,000.
Okay, it was more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20 goal season, 300. Really?
I know. I
guess-
got ripped off. What are you gonna do?
So we went to
you're
do a
making
show.
Clink, and it's American Clink.
Yes, and we're living in LA. It was the
Are you
greatest
paying
thing
taxes
ever.
back here like you're supposed to?
No, because you were living in the States. We didn't have any property
So,
or anything back
it
here.
was
You
under
were
the
still a
table.
citizen. You
All
you
cash.
got to pay federal tax here still.
Hey,
Someone
I
gotta pay
followed
for
all the rules.
healthcare.
I'm not a tax dodger.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're
You were
really
an
getting
LA
off
Dodger.
topic here.
Gee, she's got the Canadian revenue coming after me. Hey, you lived in the States. I actually checked with my accountant. They're like, no,
I'm
you're
curious.
living there.
Okay. All right. So you go to LA.
Oh, God.
It's like, okay, you don't pay your taxes, and then
And we were put on
We're
a
trying to
show-
get them arrested. Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
We were put on a show that was hosted by Carissa Thompson. She is still at Fox. She's the only remaining one. Andy Roddick was on the show. Gabe Kapler, who's now the manager of the San Francisco Giants. We
Red
had
Sox,
Ephraim
former Red
Salam,
Sox.
Gary Payton, Donovan McNabb,
Gary Payton.
and then Jay and I. So these guys, they would debate topics, and then they'd throw to us for highlights. And it was a 3-hour show every night, and it just didn't work. And plus, it was a brand new station. You try make your mark when there's 2,000 other stations. No one's ever going to stumble upon your show. So
3 hours
You
a night.
probably did a lot less hockey too, right?
Oh my God, we tried to get hockey
yeah.
into the show every single night, and they're like, no. The stuff we would lead with on our show wouldn't even make the highlight show here in Canada. Like we'd lead with college
it's
football.
like yeah.
Yeah.
It was completely different considering we're adjoining countries. The appetite for sports is nothing like it is here in Canada with regards to hockey. Like we had guys working on our crew who had never watched a single second of a hockey game. And they
So how did you two like how long did it take you two to look at each other and say, what the fuck did we do here?
Yeah.
The
What
first
are we
show.
doing?
The first
Yeah,
show.
right?
yeah.
And,
So
and did you
after the
ever
first
lobby
year-
to change that?
Oh,
at
yes,
all?
every
Did you-
single night. The
yeah.
show was different every night because there's like 20 different producers. So after the first year, it got pared down. Some people left. And then by the final year, Jay and I were in a literal closet just doing the show, the two of us. And we were the last ones remaining from that show. Everyone else's contracts were up. Carissa was the only one still left now to this day. So they just waited for our contracts to run out. And then that's where they switched to debate. That's where, because a new regime came in. So they brought in Skip Bayless, Colin Coward, and all that stuff. So there was no need for a highlight show anymore. So we were.
So you
bye-bye.
you hate Fox Sports and you don't pay your taxes. So what else?
wait. Correction on both. I love Fox
Yeah.
Sports, an amazing company to work with,
kidding.
because the amount they spend on TV in America compared to Canada is night and day. There was a 20-person wardrobe department.
Wow.
There's no such thing in Canada. There was a 20-person
So they
makeup
dressed
department.
you up every night? They dress you every
Knuckles.
night?
We
Or-
would show up, and in our dressing room, your suit would be hung up, freshly pressed, with your shirt, your tie, your belt, the belt in the pants.
a new one every night? A new one every night?
Well, whatever was in there. We were a different.
Like you didn't get dressed at home. You could come in
No.
t-shirt. You could come in t-shirt and shorts.
I would come in in t-shirt and shorts.
There.
They would make fun of us because Jay and I would be t-shirt and shorts year round, and we're from Canada, so it'd be like 65 degrees. People are in sweaters and stuff, and we're like, well, this is amazing, guys.
Hello.
We're in flip-flops. So we had catering. We had meals every night, unheard of in Canada. We had a stage crew that was 20 people. In Canada, you have one camera person. You have it's just night and day. It's also 280 million more people in America. So that might tell you a little something. And Fox is just a massive conglomerate with regards to what they spend on rights and stuff. So anyway, Fox is great. I pay my taxes. There was no need to pay taxes when I didn't have property in Canada, Knuckles. I didn't have OHIP anymore.
You love your kids.
So
did you pay your taxes?
So you guys, okay?
Yeah.
The two little Canadian boys from fucking farmland.
Yeah.
Start licking their wounds and they go back over the border.
Whoa.
Okay.
Our contract was coming up. TSN flew down and they made us an amazing pitch.
An offer you couldn't refuse.
All it takes for you to get your name on a show in Canada is for you to leave Canada for 4 years. And then they say, okay, we're going to put your name on the show. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to build a whole set for you. We're going to build a studio. How do you like that? And we said, well, let us mull over the other offers we've got. We had no other offers.
Did you walk in the first day and say, where's my suit? Were you like cocky?
No, we knew what it was like. But also so we did like 2 rehearsals when we got back to Canada. And after the first rehearsal back in Canada, Jay turns to me and says, that felt better than 4 years of shows we just did. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're back home. I mean, it's not like being back home, right?
We had no producers telling us what to do. We had no other people to work with. We still say to this day, if we had airdropped our show from Canada into the States, changed some highlights here and there, it would have worked way better instead of what we tried to put on the air in the States.
Well,
because we were only a 3-minute segment of a 3-hour show.
Yeah, crazy. Well, so you come back, Fox, everybody, I'm sure was happy. I know when you guys come back, and I have moved back here. It was great to see you two back on the TV together. And every morning I got up, and I watched those highlights because I was doing my radio show.
You send us direct messages.
At the time, TSN. And you know, I was faithful watcher of your show, you and Jay. I loved it. I loved the back and forth, everything about it. And we're going to fast forward now.
Can I just say, our last 4 years of shows, when we returned to Canada, having already done shows in Canada, then with the experience of doing shows in the States, Jay and we agree 1,000% that our last 4 years of shows were the greatest shows we ever put on. We were in tears at least twice a week because of something that happened on the show. And I would put those shows up against anything on TV right now. Those last 4 years of shows.
Yeah, you guys were awesome. You were awesome. And here I am working on TSN here in Montreal on the radio. And all the buzz started coming around that Bell, TSN are going to make some cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw the radio in Vancouver, Winnipeg, Calgary.
They didn't even tell the people in Vancouver. They just
so they made all these cuts. And here in Montreal, there was a buzz going on because they were worried that here we are, the one English sports station. Are we going to get the whack? Boom, see you later. But it never happened. And then, I'm watching you guys, and I'm going to go there because I got to go there. And, you were always clean shaven, clean cut, looking good, except for Movember. You would do your mustache.
Mm-hmm.
Then I see the beard. Then I see, and listen, being handsome is part of why you get hired. You're good at what you do. You got a good stick, all that stuff, but you're a good looking guy. You look like shit. Okay. Back in in 2021. And
yeah, I thought the
there
stubble was hiding what I was going through.
The stubble wasn't. It wasn't helping. And you were looking rough.
Yeah.
And you were, I'm there, geez, something going on here with Dan. I don't know what it is, but I got an idea of what it might be. And then all of a sudden, February comes around, and you're not the only guy cut, but there were other people cut in TSN across the board from
producer
TV.
Tim, who's working on my podcast now. He was let go. Natasha Stamshevsky, she was let go as
Natasha.
well. Brent Wallace, who was the Ottawa reporter for the Senators.
But for me, the craziest thing was, how the hell can they split this duo up? That was so
My
good for
name
so
was
many
on
years.
the fucking show.
Yeah, I know. Like, I could not fucking believe that they're gonna split this, the chemistry, everything that you two had together up, and then, I don't know. I was just,
But
honestly,
can
I
we
was
go
bummed
back
out.
to the way I
bummed
looked?
out. Go ahead.
Because
yeah, let's go back. I want to hear it from you.
Well,
The situation we're all in now, I have hungover / dealing with substance abuse issues radar now. Like I can tell a person from 100 feet away. I'm like, oh fuck, that guy's hungover. Oh, that guy's coming off a bender.
You're judging everybody now,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
No, I'm not judging.
You're
I just know what they're going
No, I
through
know.
because I've walked that path. So it's amazing how you can see it now. When you're in it, you're thinking, no one can tell. No one can tell.
Oh yeah. It's like that was awesome though. What I just read with the pictures before you had the 2 years.
Oh my God,
that was really cool. That was really cool.
Fat, face, bloated, sweaty. And did you guys ever go through this when in your drinking days? You'd wake up and your face would be all dry, and you're like, oh, maybe I'm allergic to vodka. Maybe if I just don't drink vodka, or maybe it's the facial moisturizer I'm using. Maybe I need to switch it up. No, it's all the fucking booze, you dummy.
It's not the drinking; it's what I'm drinking.
So you're looking rough now. Before they let you go,
yeah,
and let's maybe Tim can kind of get a bit of an idea of this because he's not.
I pay
up
my
here in
taxes
Canada.
if that's what you're going to ask me.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
Okay.
But when you two guys taped that show, you taped the show at 12 o'clock at night, right? Am I right or wrong? 12? So they go on air at 12 and they tape it and then they run it on the loop, okay? Mm-hmm. But so you tape it, it takes you, what, an hour? You get in there at 11 o'clock?
I get in there around 9:30.
9:30. You got in at 9:30, get ready for the show, boom, you do it, you tape it. You're out of there. Now, that's your after work hour, 1 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock. So would you go right home? Would you have a few to relax? How did
right
this
home.
all spin out of control?
Well, the journey out of control actually started in LA.
And listen, if you don't want to go here, fine. But
no, I'm fine talking to
you've been open about this, and I don't want to make you go somewhere you don't want.
I'm very open about my journey, and it started in LA. Actually, is where I started to get out of control because that's where my wife at the time.
Blame it on the States.
Money.
Well,
blaming it on the U.S.
It's funny.
Blaming it on the U.S.
Okay, so
blame it on Biden. Blame it on Biden.
When I first moved there and I was still married, I'd go to the grocery store and I'd come back with like handles of booze. And my wife was like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's so cheap. So the booze is really cheap.
Buy more.
And there was a Bevmo right next to me. That's people that don't know it. It's buy one bottle of wine. The second bottle is 5 cents. I'm like, is this Wonderland? Is this Disneyland for adults? So
what was it, Red Ripple?
I got
Valley High. What kind of wine was it?
It was any kind you wanted.
It was a boxed wine.
No, it's like good wine.
Really?
Wow.
So my wife and I became separated when we were living there, and for the last year of my contract, she moved back to Canada with the kids, so I'd fly back every second weekend. So I went from someone, okay, you're really gonna have another drink, to I've got no guardrails. So I'm like, oh my God, I can go until all hours and no one's gonna give me trouble. Got into a relationship where the person I was in again, I'm not blaming the relationship. I got into a relationship that went in line with what I wanted, which was full green lights. It was never, maybe we should cut it off here to, no, let's order another couple bottles of wine.
Rip it.
Yeah.
Fucking
so I got into that and carried that back to Canada. So to answer your question, when I'd get done work, the kids would be asleep when they were here. And if they weren't, then crack a bottle of wine, have a couple of joints. Well, that bottle of wine's done. So I'm going to have a couple of old fashions, stagger up to bed, repeat the process on the weekends without the kids.
Well, what time would you get to bed? 4
or 5. Always hungover.
Sleep all day.
Take the kids to school, then come home and sleep. And then if I didn't have the kids, just sleep all day. And then on the weekends, we had Friday, Saturdays off. So wake up. Okay, it's screwdriver time. And then just rip it up. So got out of control. And I remember actually one weekend in which I was on the phone with someone, because you're always making phone calls. I now look back, I'm like, those drunk phone calls, you always think, oh, this person's going to enjoy this. No, they don't.
What a conversation.
I got some really important things I gotta say.
So I always would keep the party going. So one night I'm here at the house and I call a friend and I'm doing whatever. And I hear the music playing in the kitchen. I'm like, I'm going to go see if anyone's still here. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, I was going to see if the party's still going in the kitchen. They're like, you're home alone. And I'm like, oh boy. I think that's where I'm like, I think I've got a problem. But then I still would negate those thoughts with more alcohol and more weed. So that's where I started to realize, okay, maybe this is getting out of control. And where I really hit my spot in which I said, okay, I need help, was I get laid off from my work from Bell on a Wednesday of Super Bowl week. So the kids get picked up regular time on a Friday. And I'm like, of course, when you're an alcoholic, you have every reason to celebrate.
Did you say laid off?
I'm suppose I was laid off, not fired.
You got fucking fired.
Yeah, business decision.
You got fucking fired.
I got fired.
Right.
So,
all right.
When you're an alcoholic, you have every reason to drink. If it's a celebration, if it's a death in the family, if it's losing your job. So I'm like, holy shit, this is my Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So I dialed it up tenfold, and people arrived at my house Friday night. And I'm like, oh, they're here to party. But now I know, in looking at it from a distance, they were here to make sure I stayed alive. They weren't here to party with me, and they would one person would leave, another person would come back. I'm like, oh, look at this. Look at this. They're here to party. Jay showed up on the Saturday. He's like, I'm coming out to see you. I'm like, all right. So he sat around, we shot the shit. And then on Sunday was a Super Bowl party at my friend's house, and I turned it up a notch there. At one point, you mentioned my before and after picture. I have a cut on my head because I lost the fight with gravity, fell, hit my head on their fridge. And he says, yeah, we saw you falling. We saw it happen. We couldn't get there in time. So I woke up in his house with the cut on my head, staring at the prospect of, okay, I've worked for 22 years nights. So all of a sudden I'm going to have nights in which work isn't going to get in the way of my drinking. So it's going to be clear path to just drink and smoke weed all day. I'm like, this is not going to end well. So I literally woke up that day, the Monday after Super Bowl, and said, I need help.
So, which was awesome. Great decision. And certainly applaud you for that. But when you're going through this and you're going in there every night, and you and Jay are so freaking close, you know each other, like, what is Jay saying to you? Was he saying, Dan, fucking get your shit together? What's going on here?
Well, like a good alcoholic, I hit it well.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering, did he try and I'm sure he tried to help you. I just want to know, how did that go?
Had I shown up like bombed, like I never showed up drunk to work, so he would have said something, but I hit it well. And he probably played it right. Like no one at any point of this said, Dan, you need help, because I would have said, go fuck yourself. I'm going to dial it up.
Don't you think
10
people
more
were in
notches.
there talking like management and stuff saying, look at, like, come on, I fucking saw you on the thing. Like, you could
I don't know. You'd have to ask them, but
but you
I'm just
know
curious.
how it is. Like
Yeah.
they probably did say something, but you didn't fucking hear it.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like when you asked for help, you probably were like so embarrassed, but everyone's like, it's about time.
Well, that's the funny thing, Steve. So on my way into rehab, I called so many friends and family. I'm like, hey, I'm going to rehab. Not a single one of them said, really? They're all like, good. I'm like, you fucking assholes.
Yeah.
Why didn't anyone tell me?
Well, isn't it nice to be able to sit here and have a laugh about it now? But for you,
Knuckles, I thought I would never speak of rehab. I thought I would take that to my grave because it was source of shame.
Join the club. Join the club. I mean, come on. You know the deal after you got in there. And so you do that. Now you're on my birthday, February 9th, you're 2 years sober this past February. And I got to tell you, I saw you when you come in, and I see it today, and such a big change. I couldn't be more happy for you or proud of you. That's just awesome.
Well, Knuckles, you were a big part
your life,
because I would call you and I'd be in an even better mood than I am right now. And you're like, pink cloud and whatever.
Pink cloud.
Just hold you accountable.
And I would say, am I not allowed to be happy, Knuckles?
Yeah, fucking pink cloud. Don't get too excited.
But it was great.
Am I supposed to be feeling this good?
Yeah.
But it was great.
Don't worry, it'll go away.
Yeah. So
don't worry, it's gonna be like chewing on fucking glass pretty soon.
Yeah. So you were great because you kept everything in check. It was don't get too high, don't get too low. Just try to keep it right in the middle.
Even keel.
But still, Knuckles, I still go back and say I still like being really happy at times. And if it's a pink cloud, if it's a purple cloud, I want to own that cloud. It's a fun cloud.
Yeah. And nothing wrong with that at all.
Okay.
Good. No, it is awesome, Dan. It's awesome. I think it's just, you can just tell like you're in a good place, and for me that makes me really happy.
Thanks, buddy. And I actually got a great compliment because I get listeners to send in emails, and someone said, Dan, I think you're way more entertaining now than you were working on TV. And I'm like, wow, that's a great compliment. Thank you very much.
You can do your own thing, right? You can do your own thing here. You got nobody telling you what to do.
And there's
you think like you think so much is going to change though, right? Like you think like, oh, I can't be who I was if I take alcohol out of my life, right?
Stapes, I thought I was going to lose all my friends. I thought I wasn't going to have fun anymore. And now I look back and I'm like, I want to correct where I said, am I going to have fun anymore, to what was fun about it?
Yep.
But the reason I think I've become a better broadcaster is because, well, you guys know this. You aren't walking around with any shame. You aren't walking around like, shit, there's Joe. I saw him 2 weeks ago at a party. What the fuck did I say? You've got none of that going on in your head or in your life. So you walk around with so much more confidence. That's what I find.
Yeah. You're not walking around like, I'm doing great. But really inside, you're just like, I just want
you're thinking, I'm doing great. Okay, what time is it? When am I going to have my first White Claw? Oh, fuck, I'd be having my first White Claw right now. It's 2:00. Yeah. So
that's
the shackles are off.
Yep.
That's the old giving up everything for one thing and getting sober, giving up one thing for everything.
Exactly, Knuckles.
And that's what you've done. And you carry the message and you use words if you have to.
Yes. And the biggest thing I tell people, and you guys will probably agree with this, if you're going through shit and if you're thinking about doing this, pick up the phone. Because as an alcoholic, you're always alone dealing with your own shit. And okay, well, booze is going to help this. Know what helps things? Picking up the phone and talking to someone. Then you get your mind off that loop and you discover maybe you aren't so crazy because your thoughts aren't as insane as you think they are because other people have gone through those same things. So you get out of your own head by picking up the phone. That's what I've found is the biggest thing that has helped me is reaching out to people because you realize you aren't insane.
Exactement.
Yeah, and it's like you don't like. I had some fun times drink.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. There was a lot of fun times. So like, I'm all, hey, if you want to go do your thing, do your thing. I don't, I'm just not doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing too. It's like, I'm not out here, my story's not here to judge you, right?
Exactly.
Like
100%. I have no problem. All like buddies that grew up with, they're all drinkers and stuff. I still join them on the golf course, join them at parties. But while they're figuring out what couch to sleep on and we're in our 40s, I know I'm going to sleep in my own bed.
Yeah,
and it's so great.
And
you're not headbutting a fridge anymore,
Yeah. And you're trying to figure out who you're going to save from falling.
Yes,
out of
exactly.
that crew.
And then maybe someone comes up to you like, hey, you think I got a problem? It's like, I don't
Oh, so
know,
many
man.
people, they think
like,
you found like they think you joined like Scientology. They're like, so what's it like? I'm like, no hangovers, no guilt, no remorse. It's amazing.
I don't wake up thinking, what did I do last night?
Checking your phone. Again, oh, fuck, who did I text?
God. And for those who don't know out there, the three of us have that in common. With the three of us are sober men, and it's so awesome to be sitting here. And I'm sure, because I thought the same thing, and I know Tim did, that when I was faced with the prospect of going to treatment and trying and getting help, I was so down and out that one of the big things is I thought I was never going to be able to have fun again. And you said it earlier. I'll never be able to have fun again. I can't go to this thing and have fun. And listen, it took me a while because I knew I had a drug problem, and I did, major league. But I always said, you know what? I was a good drinker. I could drink. I was fine drinking. And it's funny, when I went to treatment the first time, and it took me twice, I would always identify when I come in, I'm Chris, I'm a drug addict. And I would never say I was an alcoholic. And Ed, my therapist, when I first come in group therapy, he grabbed me one day. He said, how come you don't identify as an alcoholic? You just identify as a drug addict. I said, because there's the drugs that got me. Alcohol I was fine with. He said, oh, you got to take a look at that. Now go read the book. And he said, really identify, don't compare. And really get honest with yourself, will you? Get honest with yourself. And I remember going back and reading it, and I started to do that. And he helped me realize that, I'm not just a drug addict. I was an alcoholic too. And, the disease of addiction just, it touches everybody, touches all of us. And it's awesome to be able to, like you said, pick up the phone. But when we're out there, I remember when I was out there, it was like I was so messed up. I didn't know, like, who am I going to call? I'm going to call someone and say, hey, listen, by the way, I'm pretty fucked up here. Could you help me? Like, I just didn't have that in me. I couldn't do it. I wasn't, until somebody brought something to my attention and made a suggestion to me. And I ended up meeting with somebody from the NHL, and that was Dan Cronin, Tim, and that got me started.
Yeah,
Dan Cronin got me started. He got my attention, got me started, and that's where I am today. So yeah, it's not easy to pick up the phone today. It is.
Well,
if I have an issue,
I was going to say that, like,
right?
I used to not trust you if you didn't drink, right?
Yeah.
To thinking, like, who am I going to hang out with? Like, who doesn't drink? Like, who am I going to hang out with? Till like now, it's like no one gives a fuck if you drink.
No, and
right?
it's actually
like,
a cool.
Right?
It's
and that takes a lot of time. That takes time. But it's that's the reality. Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
It's a very in thing not to drink now. Sobriety is like is trending, as they might say. Yeah. Speaking of trust. It's funny you mentioned that. Even in my first month of sobriety, I still thought I was so in my own head that people would send me their number, say, hey, this is so-and-so. If you ever need anything, I'm like, oh, they probably they want to out me or something that I'm not. I look back and I'm friends with those people now, very good friends. And I'm like, why did I ever think this person wanted to take something from me or expose me in any way when it is such a foreign concept someone just reaching out and wanting the best for you, because for so many years you just want people to take, or that was in your head, when really people just want you to succeed at sobriety.
Yeah, and you got to. I mean, what the other thing too is, like, it's not like these things still happen once in a while, like the old habits, like the old thought process, right? Like, I need
100%.
to continuously, remind myself, or talk to you guys, or just remind myself that, like, hey, like, fuck, and everything just doesn't magically go away. But
It really helped me, and I was big into golf when I was like a junior member. I got a membership when I first got into sobriety, and now I'm like you, Staves. I'm transfixed by golf, and I find it the
You're a
greatest
pro.
game.
You're a pro now. You're a fucking pro.
No,
Okay.
not at all. I'm a
easy money.
12.9 handicap, which I was an 18. I was an 18.
Wow. You brought it down?
Wow.
But I find it is, people always say to me, "Oh, don't you miss drinking on the course?" I'm like, no, it is the greatest sober sport in the history of the world.
Yeah.
Great
swing
for
oil.
your mental
Let's
health.
get some swing oil. Remember the old swing oil?
I don't know if I could play a guy that doesn't pay his taxes.
I just find it. Don't you guys agree? It is the greatest game
awesome.
for your mental health.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I don't know about that.
I mean, it can both good and bad.
Yes. But you also, I'm at the stage where I'm 47, and if I have a bad round, guess who cares about it? No one on earth.
Oh yeah.
No one.
No
Except for
one.
the guy you're playing with, and he just lost $100.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I come home just yelling at my wife. She's like, "Oh, you must have had a bad round of golf." I'm like, "Oh yeah."
Hey guys, I gotta go pick up the kids from school.
Bullshit.
What? This was like
we don't do that here. You make a commitment, you stick to it.
Yeah.
We've been an hour 15. I thought we'd be done.
Been awesome. It's been awesome.
Send an Uber. No.
Well, I'm in the middle of the country. I don't know if we have Ubers out here.
Listen, we're doing this again. For sure.
Hey, guess what we're gonna do? I've got it all laid out. And here's the other thing: you can actually be a better father than you could ever imagine. I've got everything laid out on the counter right now. We're making homemade salsa when we get home from school.
Oh, listen, nobody touches knuckle salsa. It's unbelievable.
Can you send it to me, please?
Salsa,
I'm serious.
I will send it to you. I'm telling you, you will absolutely love it.